What's up, peeps? Look, man, Nick Battle, aka NinosCorner, man. Hey, man, Texas beats the brakes off of ULM today, man, 51-3. It was Arch Manning's first start, folks. So we got to see Arch do his thing, man. He had a pretty decent game, man. 15 for 29. We got 2 touchdowns and also 2 picks. One pick was definitely on him. One pick was on the running back. I think it was Jaden Blue also. But talking about Jaden Blue, man, honestly, just a great game from him. 25 rushes for 124 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, as well as 1 touchdown actually catching the ball as well. We got to see guys like Ryan Niblett get some run too. He got a touchdown. We got to see Jared Gibson, aka Baby Rhino. He got some run too as well. Colin Page, who was a walk-on, he got some run too as well, folks. 10 touches for about 60 yards or so. But look, man, this Texas defense is swarming. And that's something that we got to look at, man. It's just how fast this defense is. Texas linebackers are just truly outstanding. Anthony Hill, Benda had a great game also, man. But let's just talk about Anthony Hill getting the interception. That should have been a touchdown on that pick, like 6, but they took it back due to like a actual block in the back, man. But look, man, Texas played outstanding today. Defense is flying around. A lot of speed in the defense, especially in the secondary side of the house now, man. Also at the linebacker position, a lot of speed. Texas, look, I was worried about whether or not Texas was going to make it this year from the defensive side of the ball just because they lost Sweat and Murphy last year, right? So both of those guys got drafted. But Texas has actually supplemented that with getting some great pass rush, which is something that Texas was lacking last year. Colin Simmons is rushing the passer like none other. Look, man, Trey Moore, he's doing great as well. Ethan Burke is coming in. He's off the bench now, but doing well. Barron Sorrell, everybody's doing great, man. Alfred Collins looks really good at the defensive tackle position. Vernon Broughton as well. Those 2 guys are actually popping off the screen, man. But look, man, we got a lot of players who are doing great things here at Texas, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And then you got guys, man, that are in that secondary like Emmanuel Muhammad, Barron, Gilbo, Makuba, Taft. Thank God that wasn't a targeting foul on Taft, man. The only saving grace out of that, if it was going to be targeting, it was in the first half. So he just would have missed this game and not the first half of the next game against Mississippi State. But Texas looks great, folks. Did what Texas was supposed to do. Texas, played a team that was in the bottom third of the country, and they treated them like that. They treated them like that they were a team that is like one of the bottom third country. Well, it's a team that's in the bottom third of teams in the country. Texas offense was outstanding. They got the ball around to everybody, like pretty often. Look, man, Isaiah Bond, great game. 2 catches, 75 yards. Ryan Wingo you can tell he is a player that we're going to see a lot of him over the next 2 years. It's going to be him and Arch Manning, right? So, I would say not the next 2 years, but the next 3 years. If Arch does indeed, come back next year, of course, he's going to be starting next year. But the year after that, if he does 2 years from college, for Arch's 2 years of starting, we're definitely going to see the Arch and Wingo show. Those 2 just got a great bond with each other. Arch and Cook, they look great together as well. Silas Bolden, man, he had a great game, especially on the punt return. But yeah, man, great day for Texas today, man. Texas wins their game 51-3 against ULM. Oklahoma loses the game too today, so that doesn't hurt either as well, man, against Tennessee. Oklahoma's offense looks very anemic. And Texas A&M was in a dogfight with Bowling Green. So if you're a Texans fan, you're extremely happy right now because Texas won. OU lost, and Texas A&M floundered. But let's get back to the Texas win. Texas defense only allowed 54 yards rushing, folks, which is truly outstanding. 57 yards rushing, and 54 yards receiving. They allowed less than 120 yards today. Actually, Texas's defense only allowed 111 yards for the game, man. And I tell you what, that is truly outstanding. Jordan Booty, who was from Shreveport, Louisiana, had a horrible game. He was 8 for 19 for 42 yards, folks, and 1 interception. His backup came in for a little bit too. He was 3 for 6, 12 yards, and also another pick. No touchdowns in this game. I was hoping that Texas would like shut him out and put a big goose egg on there, man. But Texas did their thing. But Texas did cover. I think that the over under on this game, Texas was favored by like 44 points. So Texas definitely covered on this. They won by 48 points. So, hey, look, if you're better, you got your money on this game. But folks, let's talk about Arch Manning. Let's talk about Arch Manning and just how good Arch Manning was today and some things that Arch can actually improve on. This was good for Arch to get some no kidding in-game reps against the team, and honestly, just not have to go against his practice pretty much all the time, right, folks? So he goes against this team, does pretty decent today. We don't see him run much today. He only had one rush, folks. I think his one rush was for like -4 yards or so. But Arch got some in-game reps. He looked good, man. He was crisp. Arch has a very quick release, folks. It's probably the quickest on the team. You can tell he's been coached pretty well, pretty much for his entire career. And Arch is going to be just another, guy that comes through the school that's going to be one of the greats, I think, folks. Quinn, once he comes back, you do see how this offense is. This offense is just a little bit different with Quinn, right? It just is. Quinn's been in the system here for 3 years. He understands it. The system is tailor-made for him. There's a reason why scouts have Quinn as, a top 5 pick in the draft this year, is because not only can he master this offense, but he's just looked damn good doing it. Quinn was also the front runner for the Heisman here. Also, folks, prior to getting hurt too as well. Looks like that's probably going to be Cam Ward now if he continues to do what he's doing now. Cam Ward's looking really sick now. But Quinn has total command of this offense, and Arch does too, but just not to that level of Quinn right now. But Arch played outstanding today, man. He checked down when he had to. He went deep a lot, which is what I love to see. Sark's offense is actually predicated on getting that deep ball out. And Quinn looked really good getting that deep ball out today. Had a deep ball out to Wingo, had one out to Bond too as well. Matthew Golden had a 46-yard catch too as well. And then also when Quinn threw the deep ball also, folks, it allowed Texas, to get some pass interference calls as well. So it just opened up everything here for the Texas offense when you get that deep ball kind of rolling, man. And Quinn also, checked down as well, checked down to the running backs. You had Niblett. So he checked down to him. He checked down to Gibson as well, checked down to Jaden Blue. So he understands the assignment when it comes to playing quarterback, and especially in Sark's offense. But the offense was great, man. 51-3. This is what Texas teams are supposed to do with teams that are not in the same league and not in the same, actual stratosphere as Texas. You take care of teams like this, and you do them like this pretty much for the entire season. Honestly, folks, I just want to give some love to this Texas team, because the same thing that happened last year when Texas went to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. People said that the Alabama team wasn't the Alabama team of last year, right? And Texas was getting that same treatment, when they went up to Michigan and beat Michigan in the Big House. A lot of fans were saying that, look here, man, that Michigan team is not the same team as last year. And yes, they're not the same team as last year, but neither is Texas, folks. Texas lost 11 players here to the draft. So we are replacing a lot of players. We're replacing 2 starting, wide receivers. We're replacing actually 3. Not 2. 3 of our starting wide receivers got drafted last year. Our starting tight end got drafted. Our starting running back got drafted. Our third string running back got drafted, right? Our starting right tackle drafted. We had guys on the defense side of the ball get drafted too. Ryan Watts drafted. We lost some guys to the portal. Thompson, he went to the portal too, also. Jalen Ford drafted. Our 2 tackles, Byron Murphy, Sweat, those guys were drafted too as well. Texas replaced a lot of talent too. And yes, we're not the same team that we were last year either, right? We don't have the stout defensive line in that interior. But what do you do when you are a team that does have talent on your team? You coach around the talent that you have, right? And so you scheme up ways that you can be beneficial to your team using the personnel that you have here on your team. And that's what Texas has done, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but also on the defensive side of the ball. But Texas also utilizing that portal to get the players that they need to actually fill those positions. So you lose a Worthy, you lose a Mitchell. What do? You go out and you get a Isaiah Bond, a Matthew Golden, right? A Silas Bolden. But you also continue to build that depth, on your team. just through, just strictly recruiting, man, getting a guy like Jonte Cook and Ryan Wingo and more, and getting Niblett, who's been a very versatile player, who I want to talk about now. Niblett is one of those guys that fast guy, ran like a 10-4, I think, in the 100-meter dash, man, come out of high school. He was one of those guys that could do anything that he wanted to do in high school. He could play quarterback. He played wide receiver. He played a little bit of running back. He played everything. He was like a Swiss Army knife for his team. So what does he do? Texas wide receiver room is completely stacked. So it would be very easy for a guy like Niblett to say, you know what, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave this school. I'm going to transfer out. And when I transfer out, I'm going to go to a school that I can go play. A lot like what I would say, like a kid like Brendan Thompson did. He leaves Texas, goes to OU, and Thompson is starting right now, which is great for him. Niblett could have done the same thing. Like those two kids are pretty much comped, I would say, to kind of be like the same kind of player. Both fast guys, both, probably need some work when it comes to the route running, but they are just true athletes. What does Niblett do? He stays back. And when Texas has the rash of injuries to the CJ Baxters, right, and to the Christian Clarks, Niblett actually swaps over to be a running back, and he's getting meaningful carries here against ULM. He got some carries in the previous game as well, and he's catching the ball out of the backfield. And you're seeing him at about 190 pounds right now. He's running tough. He's running physical, and he's one of those guys that can spell your starters in the pinch. Right. We understand that he is a good player. He's a fast player. He can spell your guys in the pinch. And he's one of those guys that can get that one cut and just run and do great things when called upon. So, just in saying that, it is the unselfishness of his team that is manifesting through this team right now. The head coach from Iowa State said a couple years ago that Texas has 5-star talent, but not a 5-star culture. Right, Texas definitely has that 5-star coach now, where you got guys who are very unselfish, a la what like something that guys like Rojo did in the past, guys like Tyron Schultz did in the past too. But a guy like Ryan Niblett, what he is doing right now, just swapping positions to be like a running back number 4, who is also getting a lot of touches here, for today and also in the previous game. So. It's just showing just the culture that is built around this team. It's showing that this team is ready to win, and actually ready to win now. And you got to love it. Juan Davis is another guy who honestly could have transferred out, but he, just kind of stuck around, did his thing. And he is the second tight end who will probably get some draft grades. And if not draft grades, he should definitely be an undrafted free agent. But he's one of those guys that who has waited his time, and now he is going to do some great things here too as well. Same thing with a guy like Gunnar Helm. People thought Gunnar Helm was a guy who was just a blocker and just a complete, like tight end, but Gunnar Helm is sneaky athletic. He's really good. Wasn't used too much today because we didn't have to use him. But he had the one long catch that, the last game. He had one catch for, I think, 49 yards in the last game. But today he has this one catch today for 8 yards. But look, man, we didn't need him today. We didn't need him. We didn't need Juan Davis. We really controlled the ball, ran the ball extremely well for about 239 yards today and 5 touchdowns. And we passed the ball very well too as well. Very balanced offense today, folks. We had 52 rushes. We had 29 passes, so we ran the ball just a ton more than what we did as far as passing the ball. But that was by design. Don't get your guys hurt. Come out here with a W, and that's what Texas did against ULM. ULM's not a good team, folks. We all understand that. But you take care of the teams that are in front of you and do what you got to do. One thing Arch has to do, it was just kind of funny how it happened. Arch has his first interception against ULM on the first drive against ULM in his first start. If you take this back 2 years, Quinn Ewers had his first interception against ULM on his first drive as a starter here at Texas. So it's just kind of funny just to see how things happen. So Quinn goes down, folks. We got the best, backup, I think, in the country in Arch Manning, coming from that coveted class where it was him and it was Nico and it was Jackson, Arnold. And, a lot of folks said that Arch was a 3-star. All right, if his last name wasn't Manning, but I think people are understanding that he is no kidding the real deal, and his upside is through the roof. and he is going to be one of those guys that is going to have a long career in the NFL minus injury, right? So Texas fans, you got to love what you're seeing here from, Texas. You got to love the defense. Defense was swarming. They did their thing today. Extremely, extremely satisfied just with, like with the sacks. Texas had a total of 2 sacks today, man. Leona LaFau had a sack, and also Anthony Hill. He had a sack too as well, but he also had a pick. You just got to love what you're seeing from this Texas defense. Alfred Collins manning up the middle, and also Vernon Broughton. Colin Simmons coming off that edge was truly outstanding also. But Texas does your thing, man. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in this next game. Texas opens up next week against Mississippi State, for SEC play. And I think they're going to kill Mississippi State. Mississippi State looked very bad today against Florida today. So they got pretty much pounced by Florida today. And I think that Texas is going to do the same thing against Mississippi State next week. Should be a very good game if you're a Texas fan, because Texas is going to showcase all those weapons in that offense. And who starts? Does Arch start next week, or does Quinn start next week? Probably Arch. Who knows? It would be nice to see, Quinn kind of get some reps prior to the OU game. But 9 times out of 10 is probably going to be Arch, man. Let him do his thing. Let him get his SEC jitters out. Quinn's kind of been through the ringer. He's played at Bama. He's played in the college football playoffs. He's played in the Big 12 championship game too, and he's won that. Quinn's a stud. He's a quarterback that is going to, I think, lead this team into the playoffs and lead them deep into the playoffs. But a lot of things had to happen with that. You got to make sure that the team gets healthy and that the team goes in there pretty clean when it comes to, the injury bug. So get Quinn healthy, make sure that he is fine, and then we can kind of rest on our talent here and understand that we're going to go as deep as our tailback takes us, in blue, deep as Quinn takes us to as well, and deep as his defense takes us to, man. Having guys like Anthony Hill, having the guys like, Ethan Burke and Barron Sorrell, just beautiful masterclass here for the defensive side of the ball, man. But, folks, great game by Texas. So tune in next week, man. I'm going live again after Texas plays Mississippi State. And we shall see exactly what that final score is going to be, but I think it's going to be something very nasty like today's score too as well. I got Texas winning that game by 30, man. But on that note, folks, man, don't be afraid to fail out, grow your environment, understand your brilliance. Horns always up. Ninos Corner, we're out. And thank you for tuning in to the Bleacher Report and the post-game live stream here about the Texas versus ULM game.